Well, how many Volvos did you see in Washington?
So many.
You saw a lot.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I enjoyed that I was getting so many pictures of Volvo DL wagons.
All my family are taking pictures of the skyline and like the gas works park, the wharf and the ferry and the everything and the Needle. And I'm just like, oh, there's another Volvo.
You're like, did you see that DL?
The whole dealership was doing Saabs, guys.
That thing was so
90s
cool.
Saabs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was just, that was me just everywhere. And then sending pictures home.
Everyone's like, look at how beautiful. Look at this
like,
seagull. And you're over here. You're like,
I literally
look at the interior on this one.
See it. There's just not that many, especially 740s, like 740 turbo Volvos.
Yeah.
In Utah.
No, definitely not.
And so, yeah, you would see them everywhere. And I was like, I gotta go just look at it.
Yeah.
It's here.
Take a peek.
I mean, it's here.
Yeah, I mean, it's free.
But then like E30s and that Mercedes wagon. It's a
E320.
nice place for cars that you have told me are cool. I mean that style, the 80s and 90s style car is so good. And
when you live in Seattle and it costs $7,000 a month for one bedroom, you do drive a 90s Benz or a 90s Volvo.
Yeah, they'll last forever.
Things that don't break.
It's high-speed business at a record pace.
Drive totally.
Get 70 miles per gallon on this
Whoa. The whole table, why don't you?
Dude, are we ready? Are we ready for the big news?
Big news.
Oh, such big news.
Oh.
Esteban O-Gone is out.
Oh, he's out of here.
He's out of here.
Get out of here.
Jeez.
Freaking O-Gone.
Alpine
O-Gone
is not renewing their contract with Esteban. Esteban is Esteban. Took all day to write that.
How? Yeah. Okay.
I'm not good at puns.
You beat me to asking the question of whether or not you had been working on that all day.
Yeah. Lots of hard work.
Yeah, that's huge news.
What's your thoughts, Esteban?
I mean, my initial reaction is that although I feel that Esteban's driving capabilities are super, like, he's really talented.
Yeah, is he?
Yeah, he's really good.
He's won a race.
Yes. And that doesn't just happen by accident. But I have long not been a big fan of his.
Yeah.
And it's just because, especially in the days of Force India, and it actually took me a long time to come around to Sergio Perez because the two of them together were so annoying.
Yeah.
They were so annoying. They crashed into each other one season so many times. It was ridiculous.
I think that's like one of the seasons of Drive to Survive.
I think
that's
is
when
one
I
of
got
the first
introduced
years.
to both of them, and I hated Perez.
Yeah.
They make Esteban look like the
like
underdog,
a saint.
the saint.
Yeah.
And he's taking all of this abuse from Perez.
No, it is totally the other way around.
Because
that narrative is so
as
backwards.
Esteban has gone on to other teams, he continues to have conflict with his teammate.
Every single time. Yeah.
And Pierre Gasly has been no exception.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone expected it with Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, it's been pretty minimal, but
some of those crashes are huge.
I'll say this, Monaco, which we haven't even talked about yet because we haven't had an opportunity to record since then.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Monaco accident, Bruno Famin's reaction to being like...
Who's Bruno Famin?
He's the team principal at Alpine right now.
Gotcha.
His reaction to being like, there are going to be consequences to Esteban. And like, he immediately said that, like, this is like game over for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked around kind of being like, I thought he's been fine.
Yeah.
Like they haven't crashed into each other.
They haven't? I thought they had.
Not really. Not this year.
Okay, not this year.
Last year, like, so in Australia, they took each other out completely.
Huge, yeah.
And yes, they race each other a little hard,
but
I don't think that they've had any like damage, like car
big
on
crashes,
car damage,
big DNFs and things.
Yeah, like Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton status. I don't think I've seen anything like that. So outside of just the hard racing, what was it that just put Esteban in a category of his own? And that's the thing that I think is interesting. what's going on behind the scenes that Bruno was just like immediately like, that's it. Like, I might bench him for the next race.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know what I mean, though?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but something has to be. One thing that like I've noticed when the news came out, Esteban O-Gone is not being re-signed to Alpine or whatever. There are no Esteban fans. There seems to be a
no love lost
unanimous consensus that like the whole fandom of F1 is saying, thanks, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, all right, see ya.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
Yeah.
Finally.
You know,
And that's crazy. I didn't know that he was this unanimous villain of everyone, that like no one liked him.
It's because he's made an enemy out of every teammate, including someone like Fernando Alonso, where a mean, so did Lewis, but they were on equal terms. It's a little different.
Yeah.
But something that I remember hearing and being like disappointed was Mick Schumacher was in an interview.
Okay.
And they're like, of the drivers on the grid, who's your closest friend? And he immediately answers, Esteban Ocon.
Oh.
And I remember being like, oh.
Yeah, cringe.
What?
Yeah. That guy?
Why?
Yeah.
You could have picked anybody.
Uh-huh.
Like, even if you weren't friends with him,
you could have said Sebastian.
You could have just like, yeah. We all would have been like, yeah.
He's not on the grid, but that counts.
Yeah, or did at the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Know? But yeah, what he said. And apparently you and I both say this in an American way.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten called out for that in the past.
Yeah.
So apparently, Ocon.
I'm not saying that.
I don't know.
When I was in France, I would try and learn little French phrases.
Yeah.
And I would just try and do it in a French accent. And my technique was just to drop off the last 2 to 3 letters of every word.
Right.
And that seemed to be what was right.
Yeah. 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 If you know what Jeremy Clarkson says, right?
What?
He says, you know what's wrong with the French?
What?
They don't have a word for entrepreneur. This is the dumbest joke, but I think it's so funny. Anyways, yeah, it's funny because it's like Spanish. In fact, I've actually said that Bruno Famin's last name, I thought it was Famin.
Oh.
Because in Spanish, the I would be like an E sound, right?
Okay.
So Famin would be in Spanish, but in French, it's Famine.
Yeah.
So anyways, I've mispronounced that as well. So
no worries.
It might be Ocon, which I have heard Martin Brundle say.
We're not very good at using the correct pronunciations.
Yeah,
Charles,
Chucky
Sean,
Leclerc.
Chucky, we're still struggling with that.
I try to be a little bit better at this than maybe you tried.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while to get Sebastian Vettel. I still don't know what is correct. Vettel?
Vettel was something that I think I heard from Crofty, which is where I got it wrong.
Uh-huh, yeah.
But Vettel is how he pronounces it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that one wrong for a sec.
Lando Norris.
Yeah, George Russell.
George Russell. I don't know how I have to get the Haas strap on to give us a pronunciation guide of the English drivers.
I mean, you and I can both know how Australians do everything, though, which is when a word ends in A, there's an R.
Mm-hmm. When it ends in R, there's an A.
Yeah. Exactly. So they switch those. And then when there's an O, it's O-Y-R. Nair.
Yeah, I can't do that. No.
You're like, how in the world did you just create that?
Yeah.
But pizza. But I knew a kid named Dana, and they pronounced it Dana. But it was spelled D-A-N-E-R. And I was like,
see, that's tricky.
If you spelled it Dana, you would say Daner. And I'm like, you guys are the worst.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's really hard to reach you.
So Alpine, get rid of their French lineup.
Alpine losing one of the French drivers and Ocon.
Yeah, and I think they made the good choice.
I mean,
yeah, Pierre Gasly is more of a team player, and that's all I really know.
And I feel like his motivation is like there, like he wants to win races, he wants to be world champion without a chip on his shoulder. He's there and motivated to make it happen, and he's not throwing fits about things. And I think that that's really the big differentiator between the two.
Here's the big question. Is Esteban Ocon now someone Haas is going to be considering or looking at?
So, I mean,
how mad is that going to make us?
Yeah, loud in the rumor mill. He's in talks.
Oh, geez. And I hate loud in the rumor mill because those are usually true.
Yeah. And to me, feel like that's the last thing they need.
It's the last thing they need. One thing that Haas is doing so well right now, that is their huge strength, is teamwork. Nico and Kevin are succeeding.
Killing it at being
because
teammates.
of teamwork.
And you bring in this dude who's like...
notorious for being a solo team.
Yeah, George Russell.
He is... And it's weird. I think Esteban O-Gone has given me a vibe that he is not concerned about any other driver on the grid. He's only concerned about beating and hurting his teammate.
Yeah.
To me, a driver, if I was on a team, I am like, okay, first I am driving against everyone else, and I'm going to be a teammate in that time. If there comes to a point where it's me and my teammate like competing for the top 3 spots, then maybe there's competition.
Right.
Esteban Ocon seems to be going out in last place, only trying to kill Pierre, whereas he should be trying to just score points.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I don't like.
No, I would say that like the standard performance metric of every F1 driver is how well are you doing against your teammate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
but
they do. It is a good metric.
But
a yardstick.
The way that you would do that is by performing in qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
If you can outperform your teammate in qualifying, especially in these regulations, you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yuki can be 2/10 ahead of Daniel in qualifying, and he's freaking 10 positions up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like 2/10.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's a big deal.
And so if you can outpace Pierre and just get ahead of him, then you don't have to be anywhere near him on the track, right? But the problem is that the car seems pretty rough, and so they're pretty much right next to each other every week, which makes this worse.
Have they scored points yet?
Yes.
They're on the board?
Pierre scored points in Monaco.
Okay.
And that was their first of the season, I believe. So
Gotcha.
But
so Haas might pick up Ocon.
Might.
I would prefer Kevin to stay on.
Right.
I would want Ollie Behrman to come up to Haas.
Right.
And to let Kevin be a good mentor to Ollie. And then when Kevin leaves, find a better driver.
It makes sense to let Kevin leave on his own terms because I bet that he's burned out a little as well. Like, I don't feel the need to push Kevin to the door. Yeah. I feel like at some point he's going to be like, yeah, I'm really tired of getting penalties for no reason.
Yeah.
And so I think that will come naturally, but I think Kevin's killing it still. I think he's a great driver. He's a great mentor to Ollie.
Yeah.
Or option for Ollie.
One good thing about Haas is that they're actually competitive. They're attractive as a team right now.
Yeah.
So they do have a bit of like power to pick and choose the driver that they want who's good. Whereas before, they were scraping a barrel.
Right.
Now they are attracted to someone who is like Esteban.
Right.
He's like, oh, Haas is kicking our trash right now.
Yeah. So
I'd rather drive for them.
I'd rather go for a team that's going to consistently score points.
Yeah.
But Esteban's not the only one without a seat.
Right.
There's a lot of people
love to give
still.
Valtteri if he has a seat, if he doesn't.
There's still
Carlos
a lot of options.
Sainz.
Yeah, Williams still hasn't signed driver 2. I mean, the driver market is still crazy.
Yeah.
And up for Alpine's a second spot. Although Mick Schumacher's name has been thrown around because Mick is competing in Endurance Championship under Alpine's umbrella.
Okay.
Jack Doohan, who is
Doohan.
Mr. Doohan, the Australian, is in the running for the seat to replace him. So it could be Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan, which I think would be a great move for Alpine.
What is Red Bull going to look like next year?
So
is Max staying?
Checo has signed.
Checo.
He is locked in.
Yeah.
Max is likely staying.
Yeah.
That's the rumor at the moment, is because it's like, come on, he's going to win a championship again next year.
To get,
yeah.
But would he, though?
I don't know. Right now, the car is struggled a couple weeks.
Yeah. And teams are getting better.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of a race preview later for Canada, and I have some thoughts about that, so we'll get into it.
Cool.
But with Checo signing at Red Bull, one seat gone.
Yep.
The rumor is that Daniel has secured his spot for next season. They've already kind of
still at Visa Cash App.
Yeah,
Red Bull.
they've sort of said, Daniel, you're
/F1 drivers.
We are pleased enough to say that. Yeah. Did you hear what James Vowles called him? No. James Vowles was doing a pit wall interview during the race, and they're like, "How do you feel about your chances against Visa Cash App RB?" And he was like, "Don't make me pronounce that or say that." Visa Cash App buy one, get one free. What are they called? Anyways, we will beat them.
That's hilarious.
I was like,
because
James is killing
it
it.
is a promotional name.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
It's like, can we just call it Visa RB?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of the Cash App crap.
So he'll be there.
So it sounds like Daniel's getting re-signed.
Cool.
Yuki has expressed that he's interested in leaving because the team has told him the door's closed.
Wow. In the past few races, Yuki has done better than Daniel.
Yeah, but I think that there's so much to it. Like, again, look at Gen Z is going to eat me alive if this is a social media
But like,
clip.
if you were to ask Yuki, what is your goal?
Right.
He's not even thinking Formula One. He's thinking owning a restaurant.
Right.
So,
right. Well,
what do you do when that's your F1 driver?
And Yuki is good. Like, Yuki's good.
He's cool.
He's a good race car driver, so he deserves to be in the sport.
He is cool. And it's fun. I have been to a few races, and when they do the driver parade and they have the driver on the back of the flatbed truck,
yeah,
Yuki is just a hat.
You could just
barely over the side of the truck.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. He's great.
You're like, I know where he is.
I know where he is.
Yeah. Can't tell the other guys apart because they're all 5'8".
Yeah.
And 5'9". Look, I think Yuki deserves a spot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the thing that's crazy about what the situation is for him, at least, is that, look, there's also the Honda affiliation, and that like they kind of helped him get there.
Yeah.
And now that Honda's leaving, and Ford, well, Honda's leaving Red Bull.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
The obligation for Yuki is also leaving.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Red Bull's kind of taking that option out. Well, if we don't have to give you a seat, and which is brutal where Yuki has performed. But here's the thing that I'll say about Visa Cash App, Alpha Tauri, Toro Rosso.
Yep.
This is the junior team. Still, they are growing, and all the F1 teams are growing to this budget cap era.
Yeah.
Where they're all becoming way tighter, way closer together, and all the cars are performing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But that also means that these race engineers and strategists are sometimes new and still learning things. And everyone's just going, Daniel sucks. He's so washed up and blah. And they have stated Daniel's engineers knew. And sometimes it takes a while to get your groove.
Yeah.
Figure out what is it that Daniel's asking for. What is it? Like Yuki and his engineer have been together for what, like 4 years now?
See, these are dynamics that I don't even consider.
That people don't consider.
Yeah.
They're
You're
just
like,
quick to be like, nah, he sucks.
Yeah.
And it's, what?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Like what is the team dynamic? Formula One, the formula is made up of so many different things.
Right.
It is drivers, engineers, owners,
and
everything.
If that's not something that flows easily, then a driver struggles. Same thing with McLaren and Daniel. Some people just get it right away and the car suits them. But where Daniel, I think, again, has performed so well with an Adrian Newey car that's fit for Max, and he can kill it just like Max can. That's not something that's translated the same way in any of the other cars he's driven, except for the Renault that his second year that was built around him.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I think that when people get in that realm, I'm kind of like, well, there's too much at stake there to say that he's a bad driver.
It's like very easy to watch Formula One and think that it is only because of the driver that car is going fast.
Right.
And the drivers are seen as the rock stars and the poster boys, and so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then I do remember that, are they even the most important part of the equation? Which I don't think they are.
No.
It's an Adrian Newey is the most important part of the equation.
Well, and a Bono, right?
Yeah.
Lewis's engineer, who's constantly taking abuse for tires or whatever.
Yeah.
But the engineer plays such a bit like Jean-Pierre Lambias is Max Verstappen's GP.
Okay. GP?
GP is what is his nickname.
Okay.
He was the race engineer. They've actually just recently replaced him because he's over both of the race engineers now.
Okay.
And so Max is a different race engineer. But GP's been his engineer for years. And when you get into a groove and the guy knows what you want, and when you complain and you're like, it's doing this, he can nudge the mechanics and be like, he needs this spring rate. He needs this.
Think of it like a caddy in golf.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the caddy I feel like in this sense, the caddy is more important. Like,
right.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's interesting. So those are all factors that people don't, I think, give enough credit to.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why can't he just be within tenths of his teammates? Like, if the guy just started being a race engineer,
Yeah, that's tough.
he's fumbling through it,
Uh-huh.
and that's affecting the driver's performance.
Yeah.
So
Who knows?
it's not always as cut and dry as it seems.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I have to say about it.
Okay. That's what I want to talk about. Esteban O-Gone.
Esteban O-Gone.
And I pray to the F1 gods. I pray to Senna. I pray to James Hunt. And
Mickey,
to Michael Schumacher.
Mr. Lada.
Oh, he's not dead. I pray that he doesn't come to Haas.
Oh man, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Dude, what do you want to get into? That was a quick breaking news segment.
It was super quick. It was just brief.
Yeah.
It was 27 minutes.
Hey. But dude, we need to talk. Of course, we want to talk about Monaco.
Yeah.
And then what? What do we got going on? Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Kevin should be happy about that. I know we got a listener question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few listener questions that have stacked up.
Oh, cool.
Because we
Actually, I'm always stoked about that.
Yeah, we're always stoked about listener questions.
Yeah.
This is a good one. But what do you want to do? Want to do the listener question first? Or you want to talk about Monaco first?
Let's talk about Monaco.
Yeah, Monaco.
I barely remember it.
I didn't watch it. It's going to be a great recap.
Can't wait.
Glad you guys tuned in for this new episode.
Charles wins a race and both of us are like, what happened?
Yeah.
Bleh.
Honestly, but I was out of town. I was not near a TV. So I watched the highlights.
I was moving my mom.
We did have
There was a lot of things going on.
For the fast ones.
Yep.
But I did read a Twitter about.
Oh.
No, I did see that Charles won.
Yes.
Honestly, my big take of Monaco, having not watched it, but the highlights, I think that day, that Monaco race is one of those races that stands out as a reason why fans love Formula One. Like, it's one of those races that go down as like, this is why we're racing. This is something that everyone can agree was a success.
A feel-good moment.
A feel-good moment of the sport. And that for years to come, it'll be like, oh, Charles Leclerc's win in Monaco was amazing.
Right.
And it's so fun.
Yeah.
Because he grew up in Monaco.
Yes.
His dad was pretty poor, right?
Well, I mean, yes.
Ish.
To live in Monaco. It ain't cheap.
What did I hear his job was?
I think he's a hairdresser. I think Charles's dad was a hairstylist.
Okay, let's see. I gotta see. Yeah, his mom was a hairdresser, and his dad gave him everything for him to race.
Okay,
so poor.
Yeah. I don't.
In quotes for Monaco.
Yeah, I don't
only
know.
making $3 million a month.
Yeah,
Untaxed.
So hard to get by.
So hard
to get by here. I can't believe it.
But for him to grow up in Monaco, having failed the last couple years, there's been some epic heartbreaks for Charles Leclerc.
I mean, he crashed Niki Lauda's Ferrari in the Monaco Historics.
It's like the spirits were cursing him on that track.
And that wasn't his fault. That was a brake disc exploded as he was racing. You could literally see it fly off as he crashed. But still, I'd be horrified.
Yeah.
Crashing a piece
An
of history.
icon.
Like that, I'd be like,
at your home track.
What just happened? Yeah, totally.
And so for him to win Monaco,
huge deal.
Huge redemption.
Massive.
Huge deal. Monaco is just amazing this year.
Yeah.
But the other take from me, I mean, the first lap seemed fun.
Yeah.
The last lap seemed boring.
Yeah.
But that was my take.
I mean, the first lap was a bummer too, because it was both Haas cars were out.
Yeah,
on the first lap.
Terrible.
And they also got penalized because of their wing. So during qualifying, they DQ'd their qualifying effort over a wing DRS.
The
opening.
DRS thing was a bit too big or something. Yeah.
So the same thing that happened to Mercedes 2 years ago, whenever that happened.
Yeah.
So the Haas flap was too big.
And it's that thing where as soon as a team starts doing well, they start really
you start to get
scrutinized.
Especially when it's Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah.
And they're like, how can we get you in trouble? Why is it always you?
Yeah.
Why is it always you three?
But
just Kevin. It's just three Kevens.
Why is it you, Kevins?
Why is it always you, Kevins?
All the Kevins. I'll do it.
But yeah, totally. That's a good meme. I mean, the great news is that the FIA were like, I was a racing incident on lap one because Kevin was, if they didn't do that, he was destined for the race ban.
Oh.
And so it was amazing news that they didn't call it.
It just
his
seemed like
fault.
very, very opportunistic driving.
It
There
was
was
for
a
sure.
gap, and Kevin took it.
Right.
And Sergio kind of just smashed him into a wall. And then too bad that when he spun around, clipped Nico. As Nico was almost
Just
free.
Crap luck.
Such crap luck,
Yeah.
man.
To your point, was it optimistic?
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah.
Very optimistic.
But you have to be in Monaco.
But it's Monaco. You don't
There's
pass.
no other options.
Yeah, so if you don't get it done on the first lap, you're not getting it done.
Yeah, and you have to look for gaps where they aren't
Right.
to hopefully make them appear.
If there's a window,
yeah.
you dive in that window. And I always find it funny that like in Formula One, it's one of two ways that there's a reaction to something.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, no one ever passes there. Wonderful. That was one of the best things I've ever seen. Or why would you even try that?
Yeah.
If you make contact,
Yeah.
you're an imbecile.
Yeah.
If you get around him, I don't know how he thought of that.
I notice it a lot when they're doing it on chicanes.
Yeah, totally.
Because they're like, no one should be passing there. What an idiot.
Yeah.
I was like,
And then Lewis
I think
does
he did
it.
the next lap.
Yeah, then Lewis gets by on
And
the
they're
outside, and they're like,
oh, he's amazing.
knight him! Knight him again! Did you see how wonderful that pass was? My goodness.
Yeah, textbook passing.
No one thought it could ever happen there. He basically wrote the book of physics today. Wow.
For real.
So
It's so real.
It's one of two ways. And so with this move, I was like, was it optimistic? Yes. But if Kevin made it happen, everyone would have been like, that was freaking amazing on our Red Bull. So
yeah,
I don't blame
totally.
him for trying.
You have to try.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good. Glad it's just a racing incident.
Yes. And then because of the red flag that took place, because this was a huge accident, that car, the memes were good.
Yeah.
It showed Sergio's car all mangled and then a crumpled up Red Bull can. And I was like, it does kind of look like that.
Uh-huh.
But because of the red flag, everyone was able to change
their tires,
which satisfied the rule for the two compounds for the race.
and so you just had a whole race.
And so it was
Without
Monaco
a
without
pit stop.
pit stops. And it
Wow.
was horrendously boring. I was like, give me something. Someone.
Yeah.
I was like, Esteban, could you have run over Pierre at lap 15? Could you have just like waited?
Could you please be the villain we want now?
Yeah, exactly. You could have done it at a
Sometimes
point.
we want to root for the villain.
Yeah, when it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on lap
Let
one.
us
There was
down.
already a
And
villain.
maybe that's why he's gone.
Yeah, they were like, you did it too soon, Esteban.
Yeah.
So it was boring. Am I still excited for Charles? Totally.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
He deserved it. It was a great race, and Ferrari really showed up with the
Yeah.
pace.
Yeah.
Nobody had anything.
Yeah.
on him.
Like I said, when Charles Leclerc won, I put away all loyalties to other teams. I'm not anti Charles Leclerc
No,
at all, but I was like, I'm happy. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. One of those good moments.
it was huge. Piastri, which had changed his name to Leclerc for the weekend. And did you catch any of that?
Yeah, kind of, a little bit.
It was so funny. Kudos to F1. I'm sure everyone has talked about this on all of their podcasts and reports up to this point. But Oscar tweeted a photo of him overlooking Monaco, and he just said, actively looking through my family lineage to see if I have any Monegasque. And Charles replied and said, I mean, we could adopt you.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And so from the first FP1 session, Piastri was at the top.
Yeah.
And it just said Oscar Piastri - Leclerc.
They did?
F1 did it the whole weekend.
What a great
It was
thing.
so funny. And so when he qualified second and Charles qualified pole, they're like, an Leclerc front row. And it was it was so good. It was killing me.
That.
So it was very funny.
Piastri is becoming a favorite of mine.
He's
Why
so
are the
good.
Australians so funny?
I don't know, but
He's good.
He's good. He's funny, and his humor is unlike
So
anything we've seen.
dry, yeah.
so dry. But also, just to speak to something that I have mentioned in the past,
Yeah.
which is Piastri has outdone Norris at every race.
But what about the win in Miami, they say?
Because of the safety car.
Okay.
And then because Carlos Sainz knocked his wing off and it ruined his race.
Mm-hmm.
So Piastri got dealt a bad hand in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went to Imola, and Piastri he qualified higher than Norris.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? He had something happen to him there. I can't remember, but I'm standing behind my my theory because every single qualifying session, Oscar has outdone Norris, and he qualified second in Monaco, the track that you can't pass on.
Yeah,
and he finished second.
There you go.
And so all I'm saying is, if Piastri can get the consistency on his side for some luck,
yeah,
Norris isn't actually
the better driver.
He's not out qualifying him. I'll say that.
We'll just say that
because I'm pretty sure it's in the races that I've mentioned, Oscar has outdone him every time. Yeah. The 3 that I mentioned.
Yeah. This makes me think of what, I don't know if it was Daniel Ricciardo who has said it, but Lando Norris doesn't know what it's like to drive another car.
Right.
And I would like to see him drive another car.
Right. Just to see. Just kind of curious.
Kind of curious.
Yeah.
Also want him to be like, maybe it's harder than it looks, having to go from team to team to team.
Right.
And adjust your style and adapt when all you've ever done is have someone build a car around you.
Yeah. Oscar drove the Alpine before he drove the McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of the reason they were so pissed at him when he's changed teams. They're like, you've driven our car. Give him information, you jerk.
So here's a question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
The more I watch Formula One and the more I don't look forward to Monaco, will it always be on the track?
On the calendar, you mean?
Yeah, on the calendar.
They've threatened. They have threatened
to take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Have we talked about on the podcast? I like your idea where you say, is it your idea that we make it like a heritage race on the calendar and all the drivers drive the same stock, smaller car?
A spec
car that's built to be driven around Monaco.
Right.
And then it becomes more of a driver skill race.
It's an all-star event.
An exhibition.
So non-points.
Yeah.
But it's just an opportunity for glitz and glam. And yeah, throw them in some base model Mercedes.
Yeah.
Or something that's just rear wheel drive and 2 doors.
Yeah.
And just let them go at it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I think that'd be great.
Everyone would love it.
Everyone would love it.
It is not like
branded,
in my head,
the All-Star Weekend kind of a deal.
Right.
Not like All-Star Weekend, but if that's kind of the vibe,
right,
that would go over really well.
I mean, look, you could put them in open wheel race cars or whatever and do a Dallara built Indy car that's a little smaller for Monaco.
Yeah.
But to me, it's kind of like the Monaco charm of seeing how fast they go in an F1 car is so novel and cool, but lost because of the freight train size they are. You just can't pass.
Yeah, if you ever look up an image of the F1 car sizes over time and you just see them like a top view,
yeah,
they're so tiny. And then this year they're huge
and massive.
They are long.
They're so long and
lumbering.
You get around the hairpin, which used to be a passing point in Monaco, and it's like, oh, sorry.
If you don't make it, it's a 3-point turn.
Yeah, exactly. You're Austin Powers turning. But it's like, oh, you want to try to pass me in the hairpin? Sorry, my rear axle is still at the beginning of the hairpin while my nose is already in the tunnel. Oh, it's like the car's that long. It's so ridiculous. It's huge. So, anyways, I just think that the simple solution would be doing something different.
Yeah, that would be fun,
and
I would enjoy it.
I think everybody would. It's a win-win for everybody. We get to keep it and continue to see the drivers be excited about it.
Yeah, and then we could settle lots of debates on driver skill.
Right, because then it's equal machinery.
Equal machinery.
And I love the idea of equal machinery.
Nico Rosberg can shut the heck up.
Let's invite him because that's an opportunity. That's the other thing is that it's like because it's an exhibition, it's like let's bring people out of retirement to compete.
Have some fun, see if they qualify.
Yeah, it's like Nigel Mansell, throw him in there. And it's like if you've got them all in some Mercedes sedans.
Man, bring in Nikita Mazepin. Let him finally compete. Let him compete.
No, my minimum requirement is you have to be a race winner.
They're all scared.
They're all so scared. They don't want to know.
He's been training.
They don't want to know the truth.
He's been training in the off season.
He's been training in his circle driveway up front of his house.
Dude, that'd be so cool.
So, anyways, I think it'd be an epic way to continue to race there. But the race right now, I mean, I think everyone feels the same way. How does this get better?
Well, Max Verstappen said it.
Yeah.
He was like,
I need
boring.
He said it on team radio while he was driving. He's like, I should have brought my pillow.
Oh, jeez.
Because he's just like, but also, of course, he would say
funny.
that when he's 7th.
Yeah.
You're
funny.
like,
yeah. And he was up the night before, like endurance racing online.
did a 24-hour of Le Mans race virtually.
Uh-huh.
Or was that Imola? I can't remember which one it was that he did that. But
so, yeah.
Monaco race is always exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's always cool. Matt Damon was there.
Was he the celebrity that went there this year?
Yeah,
he was the celebrity?
He was the celebrity.
Oh, cool. I'm glad they got him.
I'm glad they saw him.
Who was the one that Martin Brundle tried to talk to in the bodyguard?
Mbappe. So Kylian Mbappe from
football player?
Yes.
Soccer player?
Yep.
That was a funny interaction I saw.
Yeah. The dude pushes him.
Yeah.
And Brundle's like, that's all right, I'm in charge around here. And just like push it. And like, because Brundle's, he knows football, he knows soccer.
Yeah.
And so, of course, he's a Kylian Mbappe fan. Who isn't? So he forced the issue, which was great.
Yeah.
And he still got the interview, and Mbappe was good. He was a good interview.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of chaos on the grid. So typical. I text you guys every single time, and I always feel dumb. I'm like, I know you guys don't care, but every time Martin Brundle delivers, and the grid walk is exceptional.
Yeah.
For just being uncomfortable and so good.
Yeah.
And so he delivered.
How are they going to find anyone to replace him doing
there
that?
There will not be.
You can't.
Oscar Piastri is the only person who could do it.
Well, also, it works because Martin Brundle was an ex-Formula One driver.
Right.
And he's now been commentating for years.
Right.
Years and years and years. So you can't just have someone drop in and start doing that.
No.
Because part of the charm is that they don't know who Martin Brundle is.
Yes, he's just so quirky.
And if you bring in a guy that's like, this is the new face of commenting.
Right.
People would be like, "Oh, that's the guy,"
and he wouldn't be as quick-witted.
You can't copy the stick,
right? And Brundle's reactions to people are just incredible.
He's just a fearless old man,
right?
He's not afraid to make fun of someone.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show, but my favorite moment ever of Brundle was in Abu Dhabi with Christian Horner, and it was when they first raced there.
Okay, yeah, it's a famous clip.
Yeah, and he's interviewing him, and he goes, so what do you think of the track? Is it fun out there? And Christian's like, yeah, it's really fun. It's a shame you're too old to be out there and enjoying it.
Yeah.
And being like sarcastic, like, I'm Christian Horner, I think I'm Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
And Martin Brundle goes, it's a shame you weren't fast enough for Formula One. Thank you. And walks away. And it was just like, you see Christian's face go from smiling to like horrified. It was so good.
Christian tried to race. He didn't make it into the formulas, right? Maybe
I think
Super Formula?
Like maybe Formula 3.
Yeah.
And then
so funny.
So just so good. Just the best burn ever. So, but he delivered, of course.
Yeah.
But it was a great event, and the weather was perfect, which was a bummer because I always hope it rains.
Yeah, that's the only way to shake it up.
It's the only way it gets good. So, but after that, I mean, here's the last little note.
Okay.
Last week, which is an episode that we're going to post, we're going to do a twofer.
Yeah.
And the twofer that's coming, you will hear in this previous episode me talk a little bit about how boy, Lando Norris.
Oh, yeah, I forget.
He won the race. He won. We're so proud of my boy.
The British sentiment.
It is just
for British drivers.
Yeah, it's just like, that's McLaren of all teams from Woking. And so then, fast forward, Charles Leclerc wins in Monaco. I saw the dive into the bay, like the harbor photo, probably about 5 million times.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel like my Twitter blew up the same way that it did when Lando won.
Really?
And look, Charles winning at home to me is about as momentous as Lando winning his first race because Charles has had the worst luck at Monaco, like we've already addressed. So for that to just kind of be like, oh yeah, he won, let's post some pictures, yay, we're past it. But our boy, can we just recall that our boy won? I just still feel like the reactions were different, and that's the only thing I wanted to note.
Okay, yeah.
Because it still feels like this Charles thing was maybe the biggest news of the season, for him at least.
Yeah. For sure.
And of several seasons.
Well, like I said, looking back, I feel like we're all going to remember Charles Leclerc's win in Monaco.
Right.
as a heartwarming moment for all of the sport. Like, this is the reason why we watch.
Right.
I'm not the reason Lando Norris winning his first race isn't the reason we're all watching Formula One. It's not heartwarming. It's like great.
It's great. We love seeing variety and champion and winners. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
but being able to see someone win their home race and it be like, gosh, after years of trying, after several pole positions,
at what would be considered like the most iconic track in
it's one of the
Formula
Triple Crown.
It is huge.
It's you want to win it, right?
It is huge.
So it's like for him to win this race was everything.
But not as everything as a British guy winning a race in a British car.
British team. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's that's all I'm saying.
All you're saying.
Is that I'm just like, the contrast is there. You guys take this information, you do what you want with it. But I'm just saying, it's just a little different.
A little different. Okay.
All right. You ready to shift gears?
Yeah, dude. Let's shift gears. Canada Grand Prix this week. Is that what we want to talk about?
Canadians.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about them.
Yeah. One thing I'm excited about the Canadian Grand Prix,
Kevin's folk,
is Nico Hülkenberg. It's his favorite track.
He's really good here.
He's really good here.
Yep.
It's another fun chance for Haas to score some points.
Totes.
It's where Daniel Ricciardo won his first race.
Yep.
So he might win his next race here.
Hey, I would not be opposed. I'd be very excited.
But no, I'm excited. Haas is prime for points still. Every race now, it's fun. So
totally.
That's all I really know and look forward to.
Well, and I feel like when Nico is good at a track and the car is dialed, don't count him out of like a 5th place qualifying. Like he's going to get a good spot.
He's pulling so much out of that car right now. And the car is getting better every week.
Yeah, they are crushing.
Yeah.
So kudos to Haas.
It's amazing. Yeah.
We're so stoked for you guys.
Thing going.
And I hope it continues to trend in this direction.
Yeah, totally.
But one of the things that's cool about Canada
is
that I always like this race because the track is bumpy.
Yeah.
It's old, it's bumpy, and it's tricky to navigate.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about it on the podcast before.
Right.
Go back and listen to that one.
Yep. And so where that's a variable this weekend again is that Imola was bumpy.
Yeah, and?
Max barely won that race.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
Monaco was bumpy. Max got 7th or 6th place wherever he finished. Miami is kind of bumpy street circuit. It's not necessarily as aggressive as these others, but the variable of like the car ride height isn't as consistent, which is the floor on a ground effects car.
Okay.
The consistency of ride height is what works with ground effect aero. So on like racetracks that are bumpy, if you're super dependent on the floor, then it's not going to perform as well. And the RB20's weakness, as the reports are pouring in, is bumpy circuits.
Because it's trying to rely on so much ground
effect.
Force.
Yes. So
Air Force, as I call it.
Yeah.
Air Force.
Basically trying to just depend on Maverick.
Yeah.
It's trying to depend on the F-18. But with the variables of this track, it will probably not suit Red Bull, which is great. That means that we're going to get another wild card this weekend.
Hopefully it'd be fun to get a whole nother team winning the race.
It'd be great if Piastri snuck in a performance for a win. I would freaking love it.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, but again, I wouldn't count Nico out of a top 5 for at least qualifying. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah.
But also this weekend when it rains, and I don't know what the forecast is yet, but when it rains in Canada, that also gets people like Fernando Alonso in the mix.
Ooh.
Because usually the drivers are what become the only factor when it gets rainy.
If only Alonso and Aston Martin had been performing like they did last year.
Yeah.
Getting second places consistently.
Yeah.
Now they've kind of dropped back a bit.
They're just going backwards, which is a bummer.
Because it'd be so fun to see them competing up at the top to get that win.
Right.
I'd love to see Alonso.
Everyone wants another Alonso win. Everyone wants one. Make it happen.
Yeah.
So, but I think that this race is going to be super fun.
Cool. Very cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
If Ferrari wins, man, what if Ferrari gets like a 1-2?
It's going to be.
Where would that put them in the championship points?
Close. I mean, right now it's already pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Max isn't running away with it per se.
No.
Last year it was very clear he was running away with the championship.
Right.
Right now there is a little bit of a glitter of hope.
Right.
That it is not a runaway championship and that Ferrari could be in the mix.
Well, and a part of me, like, is, again, these are the things that I actually like about Max, is that, like, if this were happening with Lewis, I don't know, because I guess I don't really have much to compare it to. Lewis was dominant for so long.
Yeah.
That, I mean, he was a pretty gracious, like, excited for competition with Sebastian when it was close between the two of them. So I can't say that. But I do like that Max has been pretty welcoming to other teams winning.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem shaken by it.
Yeah.
He seems like he's just like, oh, cool. I'm glad Lando got to win.
Yeah.
I'm glad Charles won a race. I wanted my pillow because the race was so freaking boring. But I'm glad he won at home, you know? So, I mean, I'm really excited that the championship is anywhere near as competitive as it is. When we started the season with, I mean, in China, Max was a second and a half faster a lap than the rest of the field.
There were some
it was stupid.
Really worrying races. When like Lando won and Max congratulates him, I see that they're friends.
Yes.
And so Max seems genuinely so happy that Lando won a race, or that Charles won.
And Lando's
Monaco.
really popular. I know that's gonna be part of what I get beat up for my little narrative here. Lando is really popular.
But some of those drivers now are like friends.
Right.
They game together and golf together and hang out together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when one of them wins, they are very congratulatory.
Right.
I think I've said it in the past. It would be fun if they weren't friends.
It'd almost be better if
competition.
They were. Yeah, because that's the Fernando and Lewis years.
Yeah.
And the Nico and Lewis years, the common denominator, as we've discussed. Can't wait for Charles to hate Lewis. It's time to shake up these good boys friends club.
Yeah, Fred Vasseur is crushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Is Adrian Newey going to Ferrari? Why are you doing that with your eyebrows?
Raising my eyebrows for the listeners.
Sneaky guy.
The rumor is that the deal for Adrian Newey and Maranello is done.
It is done.
And and you want to hear what the only reason that I believe that
is? It because there was a video of Adrian Newey signing a Ferrari flag.
He would never.
He would
never
do
never.
That.
There is a part of me that genuinely believes that Adrian found that funny because he was hinting at something and or messing with all of us. So it's one of those two things. But it's not. It's kind of out of character for a dude who's been so loyal to every team he's been on.
Red Bull,
yeah. So I've
seen Lewis signing Ferrari hats. He's getting ready.
Yeah,
he is pretty outspoken that he is not happy at Mercedes. Right now.
How did we not talk about that? How did we skirt past that? He was like, I don't know if I'm going to beat George this season.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean by that, Lewis? We'll see.
That impression of him.
It wasn't that exactly how he's like. It's just like, we'll see.
He's so pouty.
Yeah, you're just like, come on, Lewis.
Aren't you the best driver in the world? Aren't you better than the machine?
We'll see.
Can't you beat George? Obviously, maybe not.
Give me some hot wings.
When are you at most odds with the machine? Right now. Right now, Toto.
Right now.
Right now.
It's the worst it's ever been.
All the men and women at the factory have stabbed me in the back. I will never be thankful for them again.
All of them turned on me. I mean, we've seen, like literally though, we have seen that that Mercedes has not shown up when he's podiumed.
Yeah.
And literally just kind of blown him off. And so it's like, I mean, I don't necessarily.
It's weird because like you have an employee leaving, going out the door.
Right.
And so, yeah,
but that was before.
Yeah. That was
before he quit.
But now it's very obvious he's leaving.
Right.
So we're going to be building the car around George. Might as well start as soon as we can because next year we're going to need all the time we can to get that car as competitive as we can.
Totally.
And so it just sucks for Lewis.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Totally.
It's just the reality of these teams in this sport.
At this stage.
But he's going into Ferrari and they are going to be pretty scary.
Totally. One last little thing before we go into this listener question because I want to do that.
Yeah.
Real quick, just as the things that I don't want to forget that we talked about. Actually, I'm not sure. Did we talk about the double with Kyle Larson doing Indy and Coke 600? Did we talk about that last episode?
I mean, is it an impressive feat to do Coke and do the Indy 500? I feel like that would just be a performance enhancer.
Wow, that was so good. Damn it.
A lineup on the dash.
Just
Let's go! Pat onto the floor.
Country dancing with you.
He is driving the hell out of that car.
Basically, here's the two things that I was going to say.
Yeah.
So Memorial Day weekend is always an epic day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as a race fan,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to convert Sunday into a national holiday and potentially an international holiday because it should be.
Every Sunday.
No, the Memorial Day Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Because Monday is Memorial Day.
Okay, yeah.
But Sunday,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's already assigned to something, but I just want to call it race day.
Tell us.
Because there's no international race day, and it seems like to me that's the day to do it. Okay, so but here it is.
Yeah.
Monaco's in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah.
Then it's followed by the Indy 500.
Huge.
Which is a huge race. They're two of the crown jewels of the Triple Crown.
Uh-huh.
And then the Coca-Cola 600, which is NASCAR's longest race that they do in North Carolina. Okay.
Cool.
And now, over the years, there have been drivers who have done Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600 in the same day.
No way.
Which is nuts. It's 1,100 miles of 200 plus
Where
miles
is
an hour.
the Coca-Cola 600?
It's at Charlotte Speedway in North Carolina. So going from Indianapolis to North Carolina is also a flight and some helicopters to be able to pull it off.
That is crazy.
It's nuts. So this year, Kyle Larson from NASCAR was planned to do the double, which is what they call it.
Okay.
And they called it the Hendrick 1100 for him this year.
Yeah.
Okay. The bummer is that the Indy 500 was rain delayed by 4 hours.
Oh, so kind of screwed over his chance.
And so he ran
Dang
the
it,
Indy
missed the
500.
window.
He was top 5 the whole race. He made one pit road speeding penalty mistake.
No.
And he finished 18th.
Boo.
And it was a bummer.
Dang it.
But he was top 5. Dude was crushing it. It was so impressive. All of IndyCar was like, wait, you're not supposed to do this. You don't race this sport. Knock it off.
Yeah.
So he was.
You can't show us how easy this is.
Yeah. Totally. So he's freaking crushing it, which was dope.
Uh-huh.
Kudos to Kyle Larson. Then he goes to race in Charlotte because he was like still committed.
Mm-hmm.
And right as he lands, it starts to rain. And they called the race at half distance. And so he never even got to drive the freaking
Never even
NASCAR.
got to the track.
Yeah, so it was such a bummer.
That is a bummer.
So, but all that to say, the Indy 500 was fantastic. The ending of that race was nuts. It was so good. So if you haven't gone and watched any highlights, go back and watch the finish of that race.
I'll have to. I didn't.
It was between McLaren and Penske, and it was nutty.
Cool.
It was a great finish.
Cool.
So give that a watch. That is the last of my news. Let's get to this listener question.
Quick listener question from one of our longtime listeners. His name is Kyle. It's from Kyle Larson, longtime listener.
Wow, thanks, Larson.
He's like, have you ever done coke and then driven a NASCAR?
Let's go! Coke 600.
Okay. This is from Kyle.
right.
And he sends us messages. I try to answer when I can. But
Kyle's awesome. I think I know who you're talking about.
He's I think from the beginning he's been a fan of us, which
Kyle,
is awesome.
Good to hear from you as always. Thank you so much for participating, man.
So this isn't really like a question, but I'm directing it at you.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't talk about it on the podcast. Stewart-Haas Racing.
Oh, yeah.
They're not doing NASCAR anymore.
Yep, that's big news.
Okay, so I want to get your opinion on this. I think Gene sells to Michael Andretti. So we're talking about like, does
the
Gene,
F1 team.
Yeah. So does Gene, is he getting rid of all his Haas motorsport stuff? Is he getting out of the sport? If he does, is Gene going to sell to Michael Andretti and give Andretti a chance to get into F1? And then they let Kevin walk and bring Colton on, which gives an American drive a true chance to win and podium. So there's that whole American aspect. But do you think the Andrettis have a chance buying Haas? I know you have a take on it.
Can of worms, this one.
Yeah.
I'll give you the short answer.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of time left in the episode.
Yeah. First of all, something that's going on in NASCAR that's exclusive to the NASCAR paddock, because they don't really call it that, but the NASCAR garage area and teams, is that they are formulating their first Concord agreement.
What is that?
So like in Formula One, they have a Concord agreement, and they've had different things like this, but they're sort of trying to build what Formula One has with their teams as a NASCAR version for the teams that exist in the sport. So in the Concord agreement, it is the teams that exist, the FIA and Formula One agreeing on how the money is dispersed for media coverage and advertising and all of those things, and how the teams are all compensated for it, right? And that's part of the reason why they don't want to allow another team into the grid, is because it dilutes this pot that they've all agreed to share.
Right.
So with the Concord Agreement in Formula One now showing that the teams are profitable for one of the first times ever that they all have a valuation higher than $1, because they're not just losing money anymore. They actually are profitable. NASCAR goes, oh my gosh, you can make money racing?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What do we got to do? And so, of course, NASCAR's been trying a lot of the Formula One things. They've got a Netflix show, they're pushing a little harder on social media, trying to do things that F1 has succeeded with, but also trying to find a business model where the teams are being compensated fairly with the sport on that advertising spend and some of those things. So that way they stay profitable and afloat. Right now, it's really one-sided. It's really NASCAR-sided. And the teams are not very well compensated. This has turned into a bloodbath between the sport and the teams. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has his own podcast called Dale Jr. Download, has had a lot to say about this because he's a pretty big spokesman in the sport. But it is kind of crippling what the potential of the sport is if the sport is being greedy. But the charters, which are kind of these, like the 10 teams in F1, one of those slots, are kind of guaranteed to these individual teams. Stewart-Haas Racing had 4 charters.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So 4 cars, 4 separate car teams. And by saying that they're done and closing their doors, they still own those charters.
Oh.
So by selling off those charters, they are valued somewhere around 20 to 30 million per
each. Wow.
And so
that's a nice $80 to $100 million check.
Right.
Wow.
And that's not just Gene, that's Tony Stewart, who is a former NASCAR driver.
The old Tonestoon.
Exactly. Who also did the double.
He
Coke
did the
Indy car.
He did the Coke.
He did a line of Coke and then raced the Indy 500 twice. So,
of course he did. He was on Coke.
Yeah.
They're like, you already did a 500 Indy 500. He's like, I'll do it again.
He's like, just let me have another rip. I'll do it again. Okay. It's really dark. Poor Tony. The reason that Stewart-Haas is kind of pulling out of the sport is that they've been of great influence and they've made a huge impact. But now it's kind of seems like maybe it's the time. But also where the sport isn't kind of bending their will to the teams, it seems like they are sort of like, let's get while the getting's good.
Yeah.
Let's cash out. Let's let these
the
newer
values
teams,
of these teams are at an all-time high right now.
Yeah, and let's let these new teams take what they want. And this sucks.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably for the better of the charters that we have anyways.
Okay.
So they're kind of selling those off and letting some of these newer, fresher teams take over. With that said...
That's the reason why Haas is leaving, yeah.
With that said, Formula One is on the verge of their own Concord Agreement. They're still negotiating the next era of their own. With that might also be a reason why Gene may have a decision to pull out and sell the team. I don't think it's as immediate as this NASCAR one, where that one's their little agreements are still in the works to sign at some stage.
Yeah.
And hopefully soon, because it's already expired on the previous one. Where Formula One's, I don't think ends until 26. I'd have to research that. There's still at least until the next engine regulation before they have to renegotiate this. So I think I see Haas still sticking in it for the window that F1 has told Andretti that they can submit to be considered, reapply.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I don't see Haas being in as much of a hurry to sell the F1 team as they were with the NASCAR team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see.
That might have been too much of an answer.
No, that was...
But Kyle, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Glad to get your thoughts on that. Okay. Final thing. Follow us on Instagram. Hey, I got a message from a guy on Instagram asking about this hat. And I said, give me your address. I'll send you this hat.
So we're going to say sayonara to this hat.
But if you see a hat you like on Instagram, maybe I'll do a contest for the next hat. We have Fast One hats.
Yeah.
I'll do an Instagram contest. But so that means follow us on Instagram, follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, share it with your friends, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next episode.
Yeah. I'm active enough on Twitter that I should probably start posting. So follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Cool. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. A lineup on the dash.
Just
Let's go! Pat onto the floor.